a white horse accidentally fell into the lake. A passing man tried to pull it up, but the muddy, slippery riverbank prevented him from exerting any strength. Anxiously, he looked around and noticed a water wheel behind him. An idea struck him. Quickly, he tied a rope to the water wheel and used leverage to pull the white horse to shore by stepping on the water wheel. Watching the life-saving benefactor, a tear of gratitude fell from the white horse's eye. The man untied the rope, and the horse expressed its thanks before galloping into the distance, disappearing into the white mist. Johnny saw the wheat field trampled by the white horse and felt upset, unsure how to explain it to the farmer the next day. The following morning, upon waking, Johnny discovered 2 Hanxi Bamao horses and a talking little donkey in the shed. The donkey told Johnny it was sent by the white horse to help him, and the 2 Hanxi Bamao were the meeting horses. Meanwhile, the farmer noticed the severely trampled wheat field. Realizing it wasn't safe to stay, Johnny decided that leaving by 36G was the best strategy. Seeing this, the little donkey dug into the wall's mud, lifted its foot, and with a sound, instantly rushed 1,000 miles away. Johnny wanted to go back to take the 2 Bamao horses, sell them for a good price, and then flee to start a new life. The little donkey told him there was no need to return. He just needed to cover his ears. Thus, a man and a donkey, followed by 2 steed horses, soon arrived in a beautiful kingdom. The handsome steed horses instantly attracted crowds of onlookers. Everyone offered bids to buy the steed horses from Johnny's hands. Unexpectedly, the king standing on the castle also liked his horses through a telescope. Later, the king took the steed horses away without spending a penny. Although feeling unwilling, he was powerless to do anything. Seeing that Johnny was very sad, the little donkey whistled to recall the steed horses. The king pursued relentlessly from behind. In the panic, flour spilled all over the riverbank, and the king fell headfirst into the pile of flour, looking embarrassed. Seeing Johnny laughing heartily, King Bo immediately became furious and decided to execute him on the spot. However, his ministers stated that there was no law to execute someone just for being laughed at. The king had to keep Johnny for the time being and then figure out a way to deal with him. That night, the king had a nightmare where he dreamed that Johnny had usurped his throne. Therefore, to eliminate Johnny quickly, the king planned to send him to find the legendary divine beast, the Fire Phoenix, and promised to grant him a high title if he succeeded. He believed that this mission would surely lead to Johnny's death, as it was an impossible task. But Johnny still steadfastly accepted the mission. With the help of the little donkey, Johnny first found some sleep fruits. If the Fire Phoenix ate them, it would become drowsy. Then he arrived at the desert oasis where the Fire Phoenix lived and scattered many sleep fruits nearby. After a while, a red light suddenly appeared from the sand, and a phoenix covered in flames broke through the ground. Seeing the nuts in front of him, the phoenix immediately became happy. It grabbed the nuts with its claws and threw them into the air, performing a graceful leap and spin. It opened its mouth wide to catch the nuts and swallowed them in one bite. After a while, the phoenix started to stagger and then fainted on the ground. Even as it fell, it didn't forget to eat the nuts by its mouth and took away a gold nut. Frightened, Johnny quickly got up and ran. The phoenix chased relentlessly from behind. Fortunately, at a critical moment, the little donkey rammed the phoenix to the ground. Johnny took the opportunity to continue escaping, which completely enraged the Fire Phoenix. What followed was raging fire that burned the entire oasis. Shivering on the tree, Johnny threw his last remaining nut down. The phoenix neatly caught it and threw it into its mouth. Unexpectedly, this last nut made the phoenix completely unconscious. Quick, save it or it will drown. A Fire Phoenix was unfortunately caught in an iron net. A man planned to take it back to present it to the king. The poor phoenix pleaded with the man to let it go, and then shed a drop of scalding tear, burning through the man's boots. Seeing that the man only cared about his shoes, the phoenix collapsed to the ground with a heart filled with despair. Fortunately, Johnny was a kind-hearted person. The phoenix's sorrowful appearance moved him to pity. He immediately unlocked the iron chains and tore down the iron net, freeing the phoenix. The phoenix was reborn through nirvana, its splendid flames igniting once again on its body. The phoenix stood up, blinked in gratitude, then flapped its enormous wings and soared into the sky. The phoenix symbolizes auspiciousness and hope, wishing the friends watching screen in the new year smooth sailing and all their wishes come true. At the same time, the phoenix also left a strand of colorful rain to report back to the man. Unexpectedly, as soon as Johnny returned to the castle, the king immediately pushed him onto the chopping block. Johnny took out the fiery rain to prove himself, but unexpectedly the fiery rain had become dim. The king, accusing him of treason, ordered his execution. However, just as the executioner raised the axe, the originally dim fiery rain ignited. Everyone looked up and saw the phoenix in flames circling the sky, before landing on the castle's turret. At this moment, everyone believed Johnny was not lying and began to cheer for him as a hero. The opportunistic king had no choice but to remove his followers' hat and robe and put them on Johnny. Seeing that Johnny had become close with the people, the king felt increasingly angry as it severely affected his throne. He had to find a way to eliminate this thorn in his side. After consulting with his ministers, they decided to send Johnny to awaken the Ice Princess at the summit of the Snowy Mountain and bring her back to be his queen. Soon, Johnny set off alone to the Snowy Mountain peak. Seeing the entrance ahead, Johnny eagerly rushed forward, but was unexpectedly pushed back. Upon closer inspection, he found the entrance was sealed by an ice wall. Just as Johnny and the donkey were discussing a strategy, Feng Yujing flew out herself and plunged into the ice wall, causing it to melt. The unlucky little donkey was washed away by the icy water, but luckily, wrapped in ice and snow, he stopped between two giant rocks. Seeing the little donkey missing, Johnny had no choice but to enter the ice palace alone. But the scene before him was troubling. The palace was filled with many identical princesses, and he had no idea which one was real. At this moment, Feng Yu flew again and quickly identified the real princess. The awakened princess asked Johnny if he was a prince or a king. Johnny stated that he was just a coachman sent by the king to take her back to be queen. Alright Johnny, tell me about your king. Is he young? Does he sleep? When the princess learned that the one who wanted to marry her was an old man, she declared that she would rather die than marry him. The princess leapt into the abyss, and Johnny followed closely behind, jumping as well. Fortunately, the princess opened her skirt and floated high in the sky at 10,000 meters, but the overly frightened Johnny tore her skirt, causing both of them to rapidly descend. The little donkey, eager to protect his master, unexpectedly unlocked a flying skill and waved his wings to successfully rescue them. Looking at the princess with unparalleled beauty in his arms, Johnny couldn't help but close his eyes, only to be pulled back to reality by a donkey's bray. The king never expected Johnny would actually bring the princess back. The people couldn't stop praising the princess's exquisite beauty, and Johnny's bravery made him even more beloved. Everyone lifted her and threw her into the air, unaware that the king was watching all of this. This made the king more determined to eliminate him. However, at this moment, Johnny was deeply loved by the people and had to come up with a foolproof plan to execute him again. Johnny rightfully received the king's rewards, filled with gold and silver treasures, but he couldn't be happy, always feeling like he had lost something precious. Looking at the princess, Johnny always wanted to look at her one more time. So, encouraged by the little donkey, Johnny secretly climbed up to the attic with a bouquet of flowers. Just as the two were sharing a moment of deep affection, the door was knocked on. No. The messenger informed the princess that the king invited her to dinner, hoping she would dress beautifully to attend the banquet. As a result, the princess deliberately chose an odd and mismatched outfit to go to the feast. Unexpectedly, the king took a liking to this and publicly announced that the wedding would be held the next day. Upon hearing this, the princess quickly stopped the king, stating that marriage was possible only if he agreed to one condition: finding the ring from her grandmother's ice and snow. Without this ring, the marriage would not be happy and would bring bad luck. A strong enemy volunteered to take on this task, and the king was overjoyed. However, the princess wasn't happy. She used this excuse simply because she didn't want to marry the old frail king, and then planned to find an opportunity to flee with Johnny. But this goofy person actually disrupted her plans, and a wounded whale was tightly trapped on the sea surface by iron chains because it accidentally swallowed fishing boats while feeding. Eventually, humans bound it with iron chains here. Over time, weeds grew on the whale's back, gradually forming a small island. Seeing the pitiable whale, Johnny decided to help it break free. He mounted a little donkey and quietly climbed into the whale's nostril. Unexpectedly, the concentrated essence inside glowed with colorful light, like a vast universe of stars. The little donkey used feathers from its wings to prick the whale's nasal cavity. The giant whale felt extreme itching and lifted its large head, breaking the iron chains attached to its body. Then a primordial force spewed out from the whale's body, and the donkey and Johnny were blasted out. The goldfish gave a tremendous sneeze that not only broke all the iron chains on its body, but also released all the mistakenly swallowed fishing boats, gradually moving away from the deep sea. To thank Johnny for saving its life, the concentrated essence sent out crabs to bring the ring to him, which was the ice and snow sword that the princess was seeking. Looking at the ring in his hand, Johnny couldn't be happy at all. On the way back to the castle, the princess's image kept appearing in Johnny's mind, so he was determined to live for himself once. After returning to the castle, Johnny didn't give the ring to the king, but secretly climbed to the attic, intending to take his beloved princess and escape together. Unexpectedly, patrol ministers discovered Johnny's actions. The two hadn't had time to escape as the ministers burst in with soldiers. Johnny fought fiercely against the king. Hearing the commotion, the king came to the balcony with a fire gun, aimed at the donkey in the attic, and decisively pulled the trigger. The little donkey was shot and fell heavily from the attic, and Johnny was also captured. To save Johnny, the princess deceived the king, saying she had a secret formula that could make someone regain their youth by soaking in 3 special pots. The first pot of boiling hot water, the second pot of freezing icy water, and the third pot of boiling milk. However, the king was not foolish and planned to test Johnny first. Without a word, he pushed Johnny into the first pot of boiling water. The princess quickly took the ice and snow sword in her hand and plunged it into the boiling iron pot. With the princess's hopeful look, Johnny burst out of the pot and then fell into the second pot filled with icy water.
At this moment, the Fire Phoenix sensed that Johnny was in danger, so it summoned fire rain that fell into the icy water. The next second, Johnny broke through the ice, and amidst the astonished shouts of the crowd, he fell into the third pot of boiling milk. The king widened his eyes as he watched the third pot, while the princess anxiously awaited a miracle. After waiting for a long time, the iron pot still showed no signs of movement. Everyone thought Johnny had been cooked in the boiling milk. At this moment, a life and death flower floated down from the sky and landed on the pot. In the next second, Johnny was enveloped in golden light and magnificently rose from the pot, while the little donkey rushed overnight to the end of the world.
By sacrificing his life for the life and death flower, do you know the fate of anyone who takes it from me? You will die, and life is beautiful. Are you sure you want to do this?
Only those with time can think. I have no time, said Johnny. Seeing Johnny was safe, the king firmly believed the princess's secret formula for regaining youth. Without hesitation, the king jumped into the boiling water pot. Unexpectedly, the king was enveloped in water bubbles and babbled his way to the blissful afterlife. However, the kingdom couldn't be without a ruler for even a day, so the people promptly elected Johnny as the new king, and the little donkey was unharmed. The life and death flower spoke this way to test the petitioner's sincerity. In the end, Johnny and the princess became a couple, and the family of 3 lived happily ever after.